Good morning. Will the Committee on Infrastructure, Transportation, and Technology please come to order? It is Wednesday, April 1, 2026 at 9:05 a.m. And I would like to welcome our Committee Vice Chair Okimoto, as well as Committee Member Dos Santos Tam, and Committee Member Wire is on his way. So pursuant to Section 92-3.7, the Hawaii Revised Statutes, and Councilmember Tupola is excused. Pursuant to Section 92-3.7, the Hawaii Revised Statutes, HRS, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda through two ways, remotely and in person in the council chamber. Remote and in-person oral testimony will be allowed when the agenda item is taken up. As both English and Hawaiian are official languages of the state of Hawaii, pursuant to Article 15, Section 4 of the Hawaii State Constitution and HRS Section 1-13, members of the public may testify in either language. For oral testimonies offered in Olelo, Hawaii, additional time as may be necessary will be allowed to the testifier to provide an English translation of their testimony. Before testifying, I will ask each person to state their name, and each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 1-minute presentation on each item. All persons who have registered to testify remotely by video conference or phone will be called upon first. When their name is called, please monitor their screen. They will be asked to monitor their screen and activate their audio feed when prompted. I will then give persons who have not registered an opportunity to offer testimony. Please utilize the raise hand feature on Zoom to be called upon. For those who are joining us by telephone only, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. I will then identify that person by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When that phone number is called, please press *6 to unmute yourself when prompted. Some friendly reminders and tips. Video conference from a quiet location if possible. If you're also watching the proceedings on Olelo, please mute your television at the time you are called to testify. When the timer on the screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. Once all the remote testifiers have testified, I will proceed to in-person testimony in the council chamber. Persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to speak following the oral testimonies of the registered speakers. HRS Section 92-3.7 requires all votes in remote meetings to be conducted by a roll call unless unanimous. Therefore, I will first call for objections, and if there are any, I will call for roll call vote. For those council members participating from outside of the council chambers, in accordance with HRS Section 92-3.7, the meeting will automatically recess if we lose audio-visual contact with you, with that member, and cannot reconvene until we re-establish contact. Therefore, I will ask that member to announce beforehand if they will be voluntarily signing out of the meeting. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off or silence your cell phone or mobile devices. Okay, with that, we have canceled for agenda item number 1. This would have been the last item or last part of our series to talk about pedestrian fatalities as well as actions by our state and city agencies to discuss road safety. As you all know, we had the Honolulu Police Department as well as the city's Department of Transportation Services with us a few months ago. The state of Hawaii's Department of Transportation was ready to go. Our director, Ed Sniffen, however, he was called out to Waialua, and we will be canceling that item for today. With that, we now have just one agenda item moving forward, which is the update on the city's redevelopment efforts for IWILEI Center and the future SKYLINE KÖWILI station area. Joining us From in the council chamber is Kevin Auger, Director of the Department of Housing and Land Management, who will be providing a brief description for your information. The presentation is available online as Departmental Communication 223-2026 here. Okay, wow, it's really quite a hefty presentation, Director. Luckily, you're the only one, yeah? With that, we'll kick it over to the Director of the Department of Housing and Land Management.
That's great. Aloha and good morning, Committee Chair Cordero, Committee Vice Chair Akimoto, and Councilmember Dos Santos Tam. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. And before we begin, I want to thank the Committee Chair for the opportunity to present this information this morning. We really appreciate that. We also want to give a shout out to your staff who's been just extraordinarily supportive and helpful in scheduling and helping us organize it. So we really appreciate all of that collaboration. So this morning we're going to talk about the city's efforts to redevelop the IWILEI Center property and also our efforts to master plan and develop the area around the future KØWILI rail station. As we know and are familiar with, the SKYLINE is now a reality. Segments 1 and 2 are operational, and segment 3 is projected to be operational by 2031. Along the rail corridor, for the last 10 or 12 years, the Department of Planning and Permitting has been working with the council, with communities in these areas along the SKYLINE rail station areas to develop transit-oriented development plans. All of these plans have been thoroughly vetted with communities. They've been approved by City Council. And with the SKYLINE now active, it's an opportunity for the administration and council to activate these TOD areas. And we're really excited about that. One area that we'll be focused on this morning is the KØWILI rail station area. And that area is can be defined roughly as bounded by Dillingham Boulevard, North King Street, IWILEI Road, and KØWILI Street. The area is approximately 17 to 18 acres. It's a historically underserved community. It is largely industrial. It's been that way for the last 100 years or so. It used to be the former terminus for the Oʻahu Rail and Land Corporation, ORNL. It represents an obsolete plat. There's only one way in, Tony's Gas, next to Tony's Gas, right off of Dillingham Road. But it's an extraordinary location. The acreage that we have there presents just an absolutely extraordinary location for housing. You have Mayor Wright, which you can see in the distance on this side, is going to be breaking ground at the end of this year. That development will deliver over several phases, approximately 2,500 units of housing. And so from our perspective, from the administration's perspective, this area provides an opportunity for really a classic urban redevelopment location. We acquired the IWILEI Center in I think January 2024, and that's roughly a 4-acre site. And as you'll note on this slide, it's approximately 50 feet, 60 feet away from the future KØWILI rail station. So literally directly adjacent to the center. And that just creates another extraordinary opportunity to deliver housing and mixed use purposes on this site. I really want to point out that we have a tremendous working relationship with HART, and Lori Kahakina and her team have been incredibly collaborative. One of the most significant efforts that we undertook on this site was the HART team helped us to reposition the train station, and they shifted it 180 degrees. It formerly had faced towards Dillingham Boulevard, but it was going to face the HECO 138 kV field that's out there. So passengers would have been facing a great big brick wall to block that view. And they turned the station around 180 degrees so that it will now face into the IWILEI Center area. And we, as we master plan this area, we look forward to creating a multimodal hub on that site, and also sort of an area that can be activated for community events, town hall planning, that kind of thing. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But the other neat thing that Hart provided to us, and this was literally weeks before they completed their contract with Tuda Perini, was they provided stub outs at the guide rail level, 18 to 20 feet or so above grade, so that we can accommodate and potentially install elevated walkways. So, for instance, we could have an elevated walkway at the guide rail level that comes directly into the new building that we built. So you can envision, for instance, potentially, getting on the train, getting off the train, walking through this elevated walkway, never being exposed to the elements, and being able to walk into a building, that potentially provides a concourse of community services and city services, and we're working through that now. So we're really very, very excited about that. If we break down the KØWILI station area, the rail station area, you can see the gold bits on this slide. Those gold pieces represent, or land sites represent, land that the city already owns. And in addition to that, if you look at the streets, the internal streets, the city controls those as well. Equally important, the areas in green are controlled by the state. So the city and the state combined control approximately 70% of this area. And so when we looked at that from the perspective of redevelopment, it was very clear that this was an opportunity for a classic urban redevelopment area, and we're currently moving forward with that. We made a decision that we would work with local landowners to acquire the balance of the land that the state and the city did not own in this area. We've already engaged that program because the project and the rail had used federal funding. We're working under federal relocation requirements, so we've issued general information notices to all of the landowners in this area. There are 4 parcels in brown, and I think that they are listed as 1, 2, 3, and 4, 4 being the former Tony's gas site on Dillingham Boulevard, which is really the gateway to this new area. All 4 of those parcels are now under contract. So we're working with the landowners. They've been cooperative contracts. We're also working on parcel number 1 in gray, which is between the First Hawaiian Bank branch and the SICT property, Sand Island Treatment Center property. And an offer went out just this week to that landowner, and we're working with them cooperatively to buy their property as well. That's an important piece of the puzzle because it allows us to connect directly to South King Street. So we have those 5 acquisitions currently underway. Once we get those completed, we anticipate rolling out offers on another 4 or 5 properties toward probably the end of this summer, early fall, and we'll continue to acquire property as we move forward. So once we had determined that this was an exceptional opportunity for urban redevelopment, the question then became, well, how are we going to approach this? And we were introduced to an extraordinary team through the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, to a firm called the Center for Creative Land Recycling, or CCLARE is their short name. CCLARE works with communities across the mainland to help them reposition brownfield areas. We didn't work with them so much from the perspective of brownfields, but one of the things that they were able to provide to us was the ability to model this site, to understand what could we potentially deliver here, what was its full potential, particularly for housing. And that was extraordinarily helpful to us. So one of the first things that we tasked CCLARE to do was to take a look at what could we do on this site with existing zoning, and what would that massing look like? So they did that on page, representation of that is on page 9. And then we asked them to look at, well, if we looked at TOD zoning based on the existing land parcels and the sizes of those parcels, what would that look like? And obviously the output was a lot of tall, skinny buildings on a lot of small little lots. And then the third exercise we went through was, what would this look like with a more elegant intentioned master planning effort. And you can get a sense for the additional density and scale on this next slide that would allow us to really do something significant in this area. So we took all of that rough information, that etch-a-sketch information, I like to call it, and then we modeled that. And we were stunned to learn that we could accommodate potentially 3,000 units of housing on this site with a more effective master plan. And what the impacts of that would be, what would we need for water and sewer and drainage, and all of that infrastructure required to support that. And we got some, interesting models that we were able to work with. And for awareness, these are just really these are really fundamental models. These are just something to, I call them back of the napkin. They're not in-depth models, and we'll get to that in a moment. But the potential of this site was really special. When we started to look for comparables on the mainland, we were surprised that we really couldn't find any, where we had a lot of density along rail, new stuff, new urban developments that were coming up. We had to look outside of our own borders, and a couple of good examples. One is the Shiodome Station in Tokyo, Japan, and you can see that here on the next couple of slides. It's very similar, where we've got the rail running right down, the middle of Broadway, if you will, and the ability to deliver a lot of mixed use and a lot of housing along that transit corridor. The other project that we looked at was in Vancouver, British Columbia, the Brentwood Town Center site, which also provides a significant amount of housing right along rail. So they were just good examples of comparables, that we could potentially look toward as inspiration as we continue to master plan. But the site definitely has challenges, and one of the more significant challenges is the new FEMA flood maps that will be introduced in June this year that will be effective. A portion of the site is impacted by this, so it's an opportunity to address that. A significant portion of the state's land around the Lily Haas Civic Center site, which I showed you in green, is significantly impacted. It's now will reside in the regulatory floodway, which will limit the potential developable area of that site. So that site's controlled by the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation, and we've been working with them to basically pull in the remnants, so the developable area, the remaining developable area of their land, into the master planning that we'll be doing, that we'll talk about in a moment. Additionally, because of its historic and industrial past, we know the area has pockets of contamination. Some of that's known, some of that's unknown. We'll continue to do more work around that. In fact, we just applied for a $500,000 assessment grant through the EPA. We submitted that in February, and so we'll continue to do more work around that. So armed with that information, we then started to brainstorm around, well, how would we address this? This is a tremendous opportunity. It's a big undertaking. It's a large site. And how do we go about doing this? So we worked with CCLARE, and we assembled all of the state agencies that would have an input into this. We worked with the governor's housing team, the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development, the Hawaii Finance and Development Corporation, the Department of Accounting and General Services, the Hawaii Public Housing Authority, the Hawaii Community Development Authority, the Department of Health, and the Oahu Metropolitan Planning Organization, and also the EPA, who is our federal partner. And then we enlisted city departments, the heart, obviously, Department of Transportation Services, Department of Planning and Permitting, Department of Land Management, and which is our team, the Department of Facilities Maintenance, the Department of Emergency Management, the Department of Environmental Services, the Office of Economic Revitalization, the Office of Climate Change, Sustainability and Resiliency, and the former Office of Housing. And we brought all those people together, and we camped out for 2 days in a room at the Bladesdell. And we conducted a workshop, a planning workshop that was facilitated by CCLARE, the Center for Creative Land Recycling. and use that opportunity to identify the barriers, potential barriers to development on this site. And those are listed on your slide 23. And more importantly, you know, what were the key barriers and what were the things that we really needed to resolve to move this forward? And the biggest one that came out of the meeting was that the project just needed leadership. It required somebody to, you know, take the bull by the horns and move the project forward. And that's going to be the city and county of Honolulu. So the great work that we learned from that exercise was captured and put together into a report that we call the situation report. And you can find that report on our website. It was prepared by CITYʻS. It was their deliverable to the EPA. I want to point out that to this point, all of this work that was done and offered by the EPA and conducted by CITYʻS was conducted pro bono. It was provided to us for free. So we got all this exceptional planning work completed literally from approximately May of 2025 to August of 2025. In a few short months, we were able to identify the potential for the site, conduct some brief modeling for it to understand its full potential, to get all of the major stakeholders together in a room to discuss how would we address this and what would the potential limitations be, and then how would we move the project forward. So with that incredible information, we, at the same time that summer, the Federal Transportation Administration issued a NOFI, a NOFO, a Notice of Funding Opportunity, for a transit-oriented development pilot grant. And the Federal Transportation Administration had $10 million. There were 30 applications for that grant. There were 10 awardees, and the city and county of Honolulu had won the highest award. So we were awarded $2 million to conduct infrastructure study and planning and master planning for the KØWILI SKYLINE station area. In addition, the State Office of Planning and Sustainable Development was also offering potential TOD grants, and we applied for one of those, and they awarded us $700,000. They had $1 million to deploy, and the city and county won the highest award. On top of that, the Department of Planning and Permitting contributed $250,000, and we're going to get to that in a second. This is a good story. And then we had some remaining funding from an environmental, an EPA grant, approximately $75,000. So we had just over $3 million available to begin serious master planning for the site. So the site area that was selected was the IWILEI Kapalama area, and it's kind of two studies. It's a study within a study, if you will. One is the broader IWILEI Kapalama area, and the second study is the master planning for the KØWILI station area, if you will. And this second slide just provides a better representation of that for your awareness. This area is extremely important because there's a number of very large institutional and private landowners represented in this area. They include Castle and Cook, they include Kamehameha Schools, OʻAHU has exposure here, the Hawaii Housing Finance Development Organization, the Hawaii Public Housing Authority, obviously with Mayor Wright and additional properties they're developing, and now the city and county of Honolulu. So it really created an opportunity to look at some of the plan and pull together some of the planning work that's been done in the past. This area has been extensively studied, and we've provided some of those plans, and there's QR codes there if you want to click on those and download those. But there's been drainage assessments, there's been traffic assessments, there's been connectivity assessments, there's been infrastructure master planning, but there's been no activation of any of those plans. And so our effort with the FTA grant is to do two things. One is to look at all of those studies, and if they're making recommendations, deciding, you know, which recommendations do we want to act on, if any, and let's implement those. Let's move the ball forward. You know, we've done enough studying. There are literally thousands of pages of reports, And we want to move past that so we can begin to implement. And having a project that's activated that we're currently working on gives us an exceptional opportunity to do that, because it's a real live transaction, and we need to solve for the issues today, not think about them for future resolution tomorrow. So with the money that we received from the FTA and the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development and from DPP, we worked closely with the Department of Transportation Services to issue a federal RFP, if you will, seeking a consulting team to assist us with this work. And we pulled this together. The contract was awarded in November. We began working on the RFP almost immediately. We were able to issue that, I believe, in March. Bids and offers were due in May of last year, and we had to get the contract awarded before June because the DPP money was going to lapse. And so it was just an extraordinary effort to get it done and get the contract awarded. And we ended up with a really fantastic team. The local master consultant is DTL or Detail. We're working with BDP Quadrangle, which is a design firm. They're located on 4 continents. We're working with the Toronto Design Studio. Nippon Koei, who is really important to this exercise because they're from Japan and they focus on flood mitigation and flood risk and drainage. They do that through a lot through Southeast Asia, so we're really happy to have them on board. And then locally, SSF International, which will work on more of the infrastructure planning effort. And so that master planning and effort kicked off in November last year, in 2025. The city's One Water team has emerged as, I'm not sure if you're familiar with One Water, but it's the Board of Water Supply, Department of Planning and Permitting, ENV, DPP, CCSR, DFM, for instance, and that organization looks at developing and constructing infrastructure from a holistic perspective. So it's tremendous to have that team on board for this exercise because it's really their first project. And so it's an opportunity for the city to work together, the various departments, and to have cross-departmental collaboration around a project like this. So we're really excited about that. DHLM and DPP are leading the master planning effort for the KØWILI rail station, and we're doing that primarily with BDP Quadrangle. In addition to that RFP, we also issued last March a request for qualification seeking a development partner for the IWILEI Center site. This will be the cornerstone of the master plan for that area, and we're really eager to get that project underway. We're scheduled to demolish and demo the existing IWILEI Center in the first or second quarter of next year, so we're moving forward aggressively on that. We were delighted to be able to award the contract to a team whose partners include EAH Housing and Cortec Development from Guam. We're currently negotiating a pre-development agreement and ground lease with that partnership. And we hope to have those, we hope to be introducing those resolutions for the ground lease and the pre-development agreements to council in this next fiscal quarter. So we're really excited about that as we start to bring those together. For awareness, EAH, their estimates of the potential housing delivery on the IWILEI Center site exceeded our own. I think back of the napkin, we anticipated about 750 units. They believe they can accommodate almost 950. So we're excited to move that through. We imagine, the 950 units can't be developed all at one time. And so that project will have to be phased. And we're working in a parallel effort to develop the site plan for the IWILEI Center and that phasing and how that will connect to the broader KØWILI rail station TOD area, the balance of the 17 acres. In addition to introduce the project and get it on the national stage so we can position it for additional federal funding, Tim Streitz and I and the team from CCLARE, Tim Streitz from DPP and I, presented the project at the EPA's National Brownfields Training Conference last year in Chicago. And so we're excited about that. The last slide is a thank you. And you know, a project like this, I just want to emphasize that a project like this doesn't come together. It's not one person, it's not two people. This takes a massive team. And if you go back to pages and slides 22 and 23, all of those departments and state agencies have been incredibly collaborative in working with us. In fact, in the 10 years that I've been doing this for the city and the state, I've never seen that many partners and agencies come together to evaluate and look at a site that early in the planning process. I've just never seen that happen before, and they've just been great teams. I wanted to do individual shout outs, but as I started making that list, there were over 50 individuals, and we just don't have the time for that, obviously, in this presentation. But all of those partners on agency partners and state partners on pages 22 and 23 have been incredibly supportive of this project, and we're grateful for their collaboration and support. That's all I have for prepared.
Thank you, Director Alger, and also, of course, a thank you again for touring myself as well as our committee vice chair, Okimoto, to the site itself and then explaining it to us in real life and in real time, too. So thank you for that. I do want to open it up. I know it is in Councilmember DeSantos Tam's district, and I know he's having a meeting tonight, about the IWILEI area as well, but as it relates to rail construction. But I will open it up to the Councilmember of the district, Councilmember DeSantos Tam first.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Director, for coming here. This is really, it is really exciting. I mean, this is an area that's been neglected and sort of forgotten about for decades. And this was also the original TOD neighborhood. All of the street names in the area refer to the train yard. Ka'amahu Street, the smoke from the rail cars. Ka'ahi Street, Locomotive Street. And so we're bringing it back to its roots, which I really appreciate. I have a few questions. You know, you've laid out a number of steps that are going to be very expensive and time-consuming, things like sewer improvements, flood mitigation, et cetera. But you alluded to some steps that are relatively cheap and quick. Things like you mentioned partitioning out the areas in the flood zone, and that's requires sort of a subdivision and surveys. What are the timelines for some of those steps? Are we going to start seeing these kind of interim steps that get us to the final product sooner rather than later?
Thank you for your comments, Councilmember DeSantos Tam, and thank you for the question. It's a great question, and we're really excited at this point because we have BDP quadrangle on board. We can start the master planning, the street layout, the connectivity. How is that going to work? Once we've got that grid in place, whether those are 200 by 200 square foot blocks or 300 by 300 square foot blocks, then we can start looking at how we lay out the utilities and how that all connects. We know that we're going to have to elevate the land in some of that area. HECO's got some problematic areas that have impacted them in the past, so we're working closely with HECO to try to make certain that we can coordinate that. One of the biggest challenges immediately was trying to understand, how does the water flow? Where does it go? And so Barry Usagawa at BWS has been an extremely helpful collaborative partner in that effort. So we're working with DFM to try to piece that all together. The master planning effort we've just had the first share out of that, the first iteration of that report. What does that look like? As we continue that effort, I hope to come back within the next 6 months and provide an update on that to show you what that will look like, how many units that we can accommodate, what that subdivision will look like, and then start penciling out what the utilities are. When we met with HECO, they had a really great idea, which was potentially introducing microgrids for each of these blocks that we build. I want to emphasize that the city won't be the developer here of this site. We'll be the master planning agent, and we'll do the subdivision so we can parcel out those blocks. But all of that work it really starts now, and we'll continue to update council as we make progress.
Thank you. And these questions kind of get to one of the points that I've been kind of poking and prodding DPP on, which is the TOD zoning for this area isn't expected until at least 2030 and possibly 2031. The rail is going to be running by then, and we're not going to have the TOD zoning to allow for projects like this to happen unless DPP really accelerates that plan. And I know this is out of your wheelhouse, but I guess I hope that DPP and the planning folks are listening, because as you go through this exercise, what I worry is going to happen, because I'm not going to be in this seat in 2031, right? My term, no matter what, is over. And you're going to come to us with a great plan. But some future council might say, well, you know, our TOD zoning is different. Some future DPP director might say, well, our plans are totally different than what Kevin's presented now. And so what I'd like to see is them really accelerate the TOD zoning to allow you to at least have something and give us the ability to vote on some direction before we lock these in, before we go through this planning exercise. I guess, could you depict kind of how all this timing works with DPP's planning, with giving us the TOD plan so we can give it our stamp of approval and let you really run with it?
Yeah, thank you for that observation. So for awareness, I mean, we work, as you noticed on one of the last pages there, Tim Streitz, who is the administrator for TOD at DPP, he and I have been working closely on this project since day one. He's been an incredibly collaborative partner. Don Takuchi-Puna and Brian Gallagher have been incredibly supportive of our efforts. The DPP team, many of the members of the DPP team are participating in the calls that we have with BDP Quadrangle and the work that they're doing around the master plan to provide input around that. Our objective from the get-go is to maximize TOD in this area. So it's whatever we can do there, whether that's through 201H or otherwise, we're going to be maximizing what we can do in this area. This area is critically important. It connects Mayor Wright Homes. It connects IWILEI Kapalama, the IWILEI Skyline Station. It's directly across the street from an incredible potential amenity, 6 acres, the Ala Park. It bumps up right against historic Chinatown, and it leads directly to the downtown business district, which is walkable from this area and is a major employment center. So density will be key. All of that connects, right, if you think through that. One of the things that we're working through now is just understanding what are the height limitations that we have, because we are in the flight path of the international airport, and it's important to understand that. And so we're modeling that now to understand how that works and connects. The IWILEI Center, we're accelerating that development because that will be the densest block for sure. It will set the precedent. The design guidelines that come out of that project will translate across KÖWILI Street, if you will, to the balance of the site. It really becomes the cornerstone for the development. And we are pushing incredibly hard. As I mentioned, that we're planning the demolition of the site probably second quarter of next year, and we want to break ground on that site before the end of 2028, because if we anticipate 30 to 36 months of construction, we want to be operational by the time the rail's coming through there. So all of that connects, and I just want to assure you that we are working very, very closely with our colleagues at DPP.
Good. As a follow-up to that, the legislature passed Act 159 last year, which dedicates some additional funding for TOD efforts if the TOD areas meet certain standards. And as far as I can tell, none of our TOD areas here on Oahu meet the standards that the state has set out. And I think that, I appreciate the funding slide. But again, if we can get this TOD zoning faster, we can put that into place so we can access the state money, because I think that would help a lot. And likely what you're planning to do there is going to match up with the state's dictates anyway. And so that's kind of why, I'm really pushing to get this from DPP faster. In addition, downtown, where we have Resolution 2639, which deals with the downtown FAR, which already is, as it exists right now, is way above what's in the existing zoning. So I guess all these things work together, and I would encourage you to continue working well with DPP and also help them to get moving a little bit faster. I know they've got a million other things to do, but this is really important.
Really appreciate those comments. And And I'd love to discuss that with you more offline. I think that those are great. One of the great benefits of having an actual live project to activate is that it allows us to work through those issues. They don't become theoretical anymore. They're now, they're practical. We need solutions so we can drive the project forward, and we'll continue to do that. And I'd love to talk to you more about that. Thank you for that.
Great. I have one more question, but I'm happy to turn it back over and then come back. Okay, one last question. You know, I've spoken with a number of my colleagues across the street about some important issues like TIF. They're currently considering a constitutional amendment to make it explicitly clear that the counties have the ability to create housing infrastructure bonds that are going to have, you know, audits and accountability that are going to create a lot of new housing without raising the existing property taxes. I mean, these are really important things. And some of the legislators, though, have expressed some concerns that there's some mixed messages, I think, coming from the city about whether the city would like to have these powers or not. From your perspective, do you support the effort at the state legislature to give us the ability to have these housing infrastructure bonds as is currently presented? Because I personally think they're important, and you know, we had the whole big discussion about CFDs and TIFs and all of that.
Yeah, really great question. So from my perspective, you know, I'm a real estate development finance guy. We participated together in the Permitted Interaction Group to explore that. And I think the conclusion that we came to was that we need to look at this more. Having TIF is a great tool. It's another tool in the toolbox. But the question really, and we currently have community facilities districts. We have the ability to issue bonds around community facility districts, and which is in the council's domain. But we haven't had, I think we've only had maybe one developer propose that back in 2014 and didn't work. From my perspective, all of these, the TIF, whether it's TIF or CFDs, all these financing techniques are tools. But really the question is, what's the project? And you match the right tool with the project. And so the work that we're going through to understand what do we need for capacity over the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years in this area, and how are we going to pay for that, gives us the opportunity to say, okay, this is what we need. What's the right tool to support that need? And so that's the approach that I take.
And I guess from my perspective, having more tools is important. And that's why I hope that when the collective we at the city go across the street and talk about this important bill that the legislature is considering, that we want to have the tool. Because I think even if it may not be appropriate for this particular instance, if we have the tool but don't use it, that's more important and more useful than not having the tool at all, especially when it has to go before the voters and it's very complicated. So I want to, I hope that over the next several weeks, and we only have a few more weeks of the legislature, that we do get crystal clear on the city supporting this effort loud and clear.
We appreciate those comments, Councilmember. Thank you.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Committee Vice Chair Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. Aloha, good morning, Director Ajay. I had just a few questions, and I'm going to go in, I think, in order of your slides. Just for my clarification, I know that you had gone over them. So starting with slide 9 through, I think it's 11, or I guess 12. Can you explain the difference? So is slide 9 the current landscape, or is this proposed? And then you had the two options after that that were renderings of some sort. So can you explain again what this slide is?
Absolutely.
In comparison to the next two.
And I apologize if I may probably make an assumption, too many assumptions. So these slides are, they're just basic models. They're massing models. When we talk about massing, we talk about how big are the buildings, what's the proximity of the buildings, et cetera, relative to their land mass. They're just illustrations to suggest, based on zoning, what would the envelopes of those buildings potentially look like? And how many units would that envelope potentially support? So I call them Etch-a-Sketch because they don't mean anything. They're studies, if you will, kind of like when you do art drawings. They're just back of the napkin studies that give us a visual representation of what we kind of what we could potentially do there.
And in doing these etch-a-sketch drawings, are you leaning towards one versus another, or are you looking?
No, when we look at it, we're looking at it from the perspective of just simply trying to understand the potential. And the master planning effort that's currently underway will now really get seriously into the weeds. So the first step is just understanding what can it produce. When we realized that the site, that area could produce 3,000 units or more of housing, then it became compelling. Excuse me. This is something that we want to pursue. This is in a phenomenal location within walking distance to a major employment center. It's right on the rail. This is something we want to ramp up and look further at. And that's why we applied for the grants. But not having that information made it difficult for us to defend why we're asking for the money for the grant.
Okay. Yeah. And then moving forward, would you be using any of these that you put into the presentation? Or
we're past that now.
You're past that.
Yeah, yeah.
So then you
we went from elementary school, now we're into college. So.
You went to the other slides, I think started with 13 and
sure.
I guess through 17. And I think this is around the time where you were stating that you had looked at other cities. I heard you say Vancouver.
So yeah.
Are the cities that you're looking into as examples? I mean, we're a big city on a tiny island, and I often worry that you look at our city and we want to compare it to other cities, but our demographics, our whole landscape of everything here is different. So I was just wondering, especially when it came to site 17, this model is very high. Is this on slide 17? Just so I understand, again, there's a lot of slides in here.
When we looked at the density, as Councilmember DeSantis-Tam mentioned, when we look at the ability to maximize density on that site anticipated for TOD, for instance, when we did the master, I used to work for the Hawaii Public Housing Authority. We did the master planning for Mayor Wright homes, and the towers that we're looking at there are 40 stories tall. So they're very, very dense. We have the ability to do something slightly less dense because we're in the glide path for the airport. But we want to understand what's the maximum that we can do. And we were shocked when we saw the potential given the zoning in that area. And when we looked you always like to look at comparables. What have other people done? Study what they've done in the past. And we couldn't find any really good examples of that. The only places that we could find were Vancouver, British Columbia, and Shidomi Station in Tokyo. Whether or not we build to this density, that's a city council prerogative. Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to understand the vision.
So from the perspective of TOD and developing transit-oriented communities, if you will, I think we all agree that we need more housing. Skyline is active. We've been developing transit-oriented development neighborhoods. All of those neighborhoods provide us with greater density. If we're going to continue to build rather than build out, we'd prefer to build in along that rail corridor. It makes it more convenient for folks. It saves the money on automobiles. It saves the money on housing if we can build that density and build more of it. It keeps the country, it keeps the city. So we're really focusing the density efforts along the rail corridor.
Okay, thank you. And the infrastructure that would be needed around the TOD, which I've always been a supporter of, but in just trying to understand as you're planning how that's going to be impacted and what the plans are for that.
Yeah, and so that's the dual effort or the dual study nature of this undertaking with the FTA money. One is to understand what we can do on these 17 acres, but the other is what's the overall infrastructure requirement to support not only the city's efforts around the KÖWILI Skyline station, but also for the private developers and institutional landowners that have land in that area. So looking at it holistically. And so we've been able to bring the entire team together, ENV, DPP, Board of Water Supply, DFM for drainage, DTS for street connectivity, to look at all of that. Let's look at all the reports that have been done, the recommendations that have been made. Which recommendations do we want to activate? Which do we want to act on? What will the cost of that be? And then most importantly, how are we going to finance that, as Councilmember DeSantis-Tam said?
Thank you. And if you're having to repeat yourself, I am grateful because you may have explained that, but I'm asking for clarification, so thank you. On slide 19, and I think Councilmember DeSantis-Tam kind of mentioned it, or maybe in the past question period it was brought up, but I did have questions. So you have this flood zone map, and you said that the project will lie, a portion of it will lie within it.
So for clarity, hey, Justin, maybe we could go to slide, I think what would be helpful is slide 7. So we're going to shoot back to slide 7, is that the visual might help a little bit more. So the green area at the bottom of slide 7 is, that's controlled by the state, DAGs through the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation. And they've been studying that area for at least the last 10 years. It's referred to as the Lily House Civic Center site. And they were looking to do housing, mixed use housing and potential office space for state workers in that area. Unfortunately, the bottom half of that area toward North King, towards sort of City Hall, if you will. Not sure if is this working? No, this doesn't work. But a good portion of that is now in a regulatory floodway. So the HHFDC will not be able to develop that to the full extent that they had anticipated. And that's why we're currently working with them, because the remnant bits that they have can fold nicely into what we're doing on our site. So that there is flood risk, there is mitigation that's going to have to be deployed. It doesn't impact our area as much as it impacts HHFDC's area. So apologies if I didn't make that clear.
No, thank you. And I think after the last 2 weeks that what we've experienced here, we're probably more sensitive to even possibilities of something being impacted by a big storm and a flood. So I'm trying to see what we're doing beforehand to prepare for that possibly happening.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you're saying that this plan that we have, I know that you say it should not be impacted, but what are we doing in the event?
The plan that we will have will address flood mitigation risk and requirements.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're working on that now. That's what we're doing with
thank
PDB.
you. And I think my last question for right now is on page 25. Thank you for explaining the master planning funding sources, and thank you. I was really grateful to hear that you or your team have worked on getting the grant money. That's always great to hear. What is the department's process for applying for these grants? Do you have in-department grant writers? How did you get a hold of these grants?
No, I'm sorry. It was kind of comical. We were working through all of this and bringing all this great information together. And at the same time, this NOFO was introduced by the FDA, and we didn't know what to do. We were scrambled. So it was a couple of people in my department. We worked really closely with the governor's Office of Housing, Scott Glenn and Lindsay Asserby over there, and a couple of individuals from the State Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. So we worked together really hard over about 30 days or so and put together a 70-page application and launched that. I'm a finance guy, but I'd never applied for federal funding before in my life. Kudos to the state, because I as a private sector guy, if you will, I didn't really understand how much federal funding there was available. And the state had run the year before, they had run a federal funding workshop over at the airport for a couple of days. Ed Sniffen, who wasn't here today, was helped to organize all of that. And that was really eye-opening, because it was reflective of how much funding is available, but it's a huge lift. We now have dedicated folks in the MDO's office. So we hope to do more of this. And as I mentioned, we just recently, this past February, applied for a $500,000 EPA grant for assessment of potential contamination in this site and others in the area.
No, well, thank you. Kudos to you and the team who were working hard on this. I think it's really, I think it's a good thing to realize that there's funding out there. But as you stated, you kind of have to be looking for it or aware or searching for it. So hopefully your department or the MDO's office will continue to look for these resources, especially as we go through the fiscal year that we're anticipating for coming off of this year with the flood.
It's a big push by the administration broadly, and it's rolling out to all of the departments. As I mentioned, again, securing the grant is one thing, and that's a Herculean effort, because they get announced and then you have to respond very quickly. You don't always win the first time. Sometimes you've got to go over and over and over again, and you continue to tweak your application. We were surprised and incredibly grateful. We won the highest award, which was exceptional, of 30 applications. But having the support of other departments, and DTS was really instrumental in this, because then the next step was preparing a request for proposals under federal guidelines.
It's okay, you can continue.
Keep
Yeah, you
going?
can continue.
Okay, and so being able to work with DTS, who's extremely familiar with all of this, was a godsend. And we're grateful for the collaboration.
Last question, and I'm not sure how to phrase this. Hopefully you can figure out what I'm trying to say and answer it. So with this $3.3 million, what exactly does this cover? Like, what are we looking at? I'm grateful that we got the funding, but is it just like a little tiny speck in the project? What will this cover?
No, it's actually pretty significant. So we'll look at the broader area that I had outlined on one of the slides, the broader IWILEI Kapalama area, and we'll look at that from an infrastructure perspective. What infrastructure did we need to introduce to support development in that area, and try to get some estimates for how much would that cost, how would we phase that, and with the idea being, we'd love to prepare a request for funding that we can come both to City Council and the state legislatures simultaneously to say that, hey, here's the project, as Councilmember DeSantis-Tam pointed out. We'd like to fund this. Here are some of the tools that we think that we can introduce to fund this, but then here's what we'll need from Council and Ledge. So do it in a cohesive way, in a more of a organized way. Sometimes we see appropriations on our side of the street that will require a state match, and sometimes we'll see appropriations on the other side of the street that will require a county match. But nobody's had a discussion around this, how we're matching those things. So the broader effort is to look at the overall infrastructure requirement, the cost of that, and then make a coordinated ask, if you will. The other part of the work is the master planning for the 17 acres in and around the KÖWILI rail station. That's the area that we're focused on at DHLM, which is bounded by Dillingham, North King, IWILEI Road, and KÖWILI Street.
So thank you. The $3 million, you're saying that you're still figuring out by looking at this outline what the costs would be, what they would be used for. Is that what I'm understanding? And you still are working on that plan? Do the funds have lapse date? Like, is there a time where they?
Oh, we haven't even asked for them yet. Yeah, so the $3 million that we have, that will produce, we hope, here's what we need to do, here's how much it will cost.
Okay.
That's the objective. And then for the little yellow area, here's what we anticipate this area, the master planned area, will look like. Here's what the street grid will look like. And
okay. Sorry, but so this $3 million, do they have lapse dates? Are there deadline dates that we have to use them by?
Yeah, we have deadlines under the contract with the prime consultant.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And that's over the next 2 years.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank
Sure.
you, Chair.
Thank you, Committee Vice Chair Okimoto. Director, I'll ask one question, and I'll go for a second round, as I know Councilmember DeSantis-Tam has a few more questions. First off, I was wondering about the clarification on how we are looking at the infrastructure. Is it going to be on a project-by-project basis? Like right now, we're focused on IWILEI Center itself and seeing what that capacity is. I know that you mentioned we have to know the project before we even know our capacity, right? So I understand where you're coming from, but I know that there are other land partners, like you mentioned. There's Office of Hawaiian Affairs. We also have Castle and Cook in the area. And I was just wondering, are we looking at the infrastructure as a whole so we can then present the grander total?
Yeah, really great question. So yes, so we're looking at the broader area. We're looking at the reports and studies that have been prepared in the past. We want to take the best of those, understand their recommendations, understand where there are gaps, work with the local landowners in that area to be certain that the infrastructure requirements meet their goals, and then do the math, understand how much that will cost all in. With respect to the area around the KÖWILI rail station, we're just one small part of that.
Right.
But even that will result in multiple blocks, multiple buildings, and that infrastructure within that area has to get master planned as well.
Okay, thank you. I just don't want any like kapakahi planning, you know what I mean? And not project or project by project based type of infrastructure planning as well.
It's a great comment. When we did our initial kickoff in November with the team that would be analyzing this, the one comment that I made was, I don't want to read another planning report. We want to implement at this point. We've done plenty of studies. We have lots of recommendations. What is it that we need? Where are the gaps? And how are we going to implement this? So we share your concern.
Thank you. Councilmember Santos, if I could just follow up with one last thing that's related to it. And I'm sure you read this presentation and report about the water management and the presentations that we heard from Piet Dirk back in November of 2018. I know I went to those presentations hosted by the city and the state planning, as well as I'm sure maybe Councilmember Santos Tam went to those back in 2018. But talking about water management and how I know that you have looked at comparables, comparable cities as to how they dealt with flooding and utilizing how we are building our buildings so that it can prevent those water flooding and then also possible imploding of buildings when we're building it on such type of land, kind of like what has happened in Miami. I forgot, Miami-Dade County before. So is that part of the infrastructure planning as well when we are thinking about what the development is and what's going to go on top of our infrastructure and capacity there?
Yeah, absolutely, and great question. And one of the reasons that Nippon Koei has been included in the consulting team because they have a lot of experience with that. You know, where does water go? How do we manage that water? We fundamentally recognize that we'll likely need to raise that site somewhat. It gradually slopes downward towards the harbor from Dillingham and South King. So we'll need to, raise one portion of it. That raising land area is not easy because infrastructure can only be installed a certain level below grade, the grade being sort of street level. So all of that has to be planned. And then there are also other passive mitigation techniques. So for instance, we can store water and excess runoff. We can retreat vertically, which means, we put all the parking on the first floor, and if it floods, well, we're safe. We keep our infrastructure above grade. So we'll be looking at all of that as we master plan and then plan the physical buildings, which are doing a parallel effort around IWILEI Center.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. I remember those very same discussions and recommendations from 2014 and 18. So thank you. Councilmember Santos Tam.
Thank you. I have sort of one easier question and then one sort of larger, more complicated one. So right outside of the planning area here in yellow is the medical examiner's office, which is also under the jurisdiction of the city. It has the benefit of being outside of the flood area. And I understand that at some point the medical examiner's office needs to be expanded or moved or whatever. Have we given any thought to adding that to the planning effort here too?
Oh, we've met with the team, and so under our, was that the easy question?
That's the easy one.
Right. So we've met with the team. We're thoroughly aware of that. It's not a priority right now because it's not in the flood area, which is a good thing. But we have the ability to, we also have an executive order for the old fire station. So that's under city control. We're currently discussing that with the state. We have 820 and 840 IWILEI Road that were on our list to issue requests for qualification seeking development partners for those sites, but we'll probably end up including those in the effort here. And certainly, we've also had conversations with Catholic Charities, which has a big site right next to the examiner's office. So it's all up for consideration. However, the priority locations are just within this site, right? The defined site for now.
Okay. And this is outside of your row house since it's not city property, but right across Dillingham Boulevard, right? There's the Kingsgate Plaza. There's a number of sort of industrial warehouses. And then beyond that is Akepo Lane, which already has some housing. There's a collection of small houses. And I guess I'm a little concerned because the TOD zoning is not going to get here till 2030. If you have these small parcels that are smaller than 20,000 square feet, the IPDT process doesn't work because that's restricted to 20,000 square feet or more. If you have a collection of small properties, what are we going to do for them? I mean, the process under Chapter 22 of consolidating parcels is very cumbersome. Are these just going to sit for a decade or more while we at the city figure it out? What are we doing to facilitate the private development outside of this highlighted area?
It's a great question. I think that particularly within the TOD areas, if we can make it simpler for folks to aggregate land, that's what master developers do. I'm from New York City and spent years doing that, right? You'd pick off parcels, you'd set them up as parking lots until you got a land mass that allowed you to build a larger building. And I think that we'll get there as we continue to grow through this process, as we continue to accelerate and activate TOD areas. We're going to learn from that. So it's definitely on the radar. We're just not ready for that quite yet. But I agree with you. I think we need to make it easier to assemble.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this needs to be part of the discussion. Chapter 22 is from an era when the plantations were getting rid of their properties and were intended for YPO gentry and these big, giant, massive subdivisions. It was not really intended for these 6 little homes in a Kaipo lane to get together. Now we have a joint development agreement process, but that also is very difficult, I think, for small landowners to navigate. And I hope that over the next few years, and I really mean the next few years, so we can be ready for when rail gets here, that we can make that process a lot simpler.
A great thing to put on the list, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Committee Vice Chair Okimoto, any further questions? Thank you. Director Auger, thank you very much for bringing up One Water as it relates to infrastructure and the planning for that. I'm glad that we have a holistic a group that has defined themselves to talk about the infrastructure. I know that when planning was being done for the area and then also to support Mayor Wright, that was kind of kapakahi too. So now that we have this here, I hope that you can help me urge the One Water group to come before us. I know that Director Albano actually is the only one that gave me the thumbs up, but he's only one out of like however many of the departments out there that would then come to our committee, because it's not only just the IWILEI area, but especially the other areas that still don't have TOD zoning adopted, like whether it be in the Kapolei area as well as airport. We keep asking about the airport. We keep asking about airport TOD too. So and then as it relates to infrastructure too. So. Hopefully you can be another conduit along with Director Albano to help get the rest of the group to come before us to talk about infrastructure in general, but especially as it relates to TOD.
I really appreciate those comments, Committee Chair. It's a great idea. We'd love to have an opportunity to come back as we make progress. We need more time to continue to build out the models and such to come back and show you what we're planning and what we plan to do. And I think maybe rather than just me coming here as a talking head, we'll bring some other members of the team and get them involved as well and share out what they're doing, the good work that they're moving along. Good.
I love that. Thank you. And also, I do want to recognize that Director Auger actually reached out to our committee to do this presentation. This is a very timely presentation, and I'm hoping that we can look at some of the changes and possible amendments, whether it be through even ordinance, but also through things that we need to adopt at the council level so that you, as Councilmember DeSantis-Tam said, you can go and just like implement, right? So hopefully that can be ushered forward before I leave the council. That would be awesomeness. And that's the same time as the mayor, by the way. So we have what, 200 something days? I mean, 400 something days, apparently.
Something like 658 working business
600.
days.
But someone told me 400. Okay, never mind. Well, with that, I know we've been talking about IWILEI and Kapalama since I got to this city 14 years ago. So I just I'm very excited to see this expand and really going back to its roots, as Councilmember DeSantis-Tam brought up, but also how we can utilize this planning for other current TOD areas, like, Kalawao. We have even areas by Ho'ai'ai stations and just other rail stations so that we could just really, I don't want to say land bank, but like really start plan around those areas, because right now they're kind of passive areas as well. So hopefully we can talk about that further.
Thank you for that. There's a lot of pressure on us because it's an opportunity to show and reflect how we can do TOD right and develop transit-oriented communities the right way. So we take that to heart, and we're going to continue. We want it to be a model for how we continue future. So we're really grateful for you allowing us to be here today.
Thank you very much. Members, are there any last questions before I go to testimony? We can go back to discussion and comments afterwards. No? Okay. There's not testimony, but I have to ask for testimony, but okay. Now we will move to testimony. We don't have any registered remote or in-person testifiers, but is there anyone online or in person who wishes to testify? Seeing none, we will now close out testimony. But members, are there any comments or discussion for this? Councilmember Santos-Tam, do you want to announce your meeting for tonight?
Sure, and the IWILEI area, folks in the IWILEI area, even outside the IWILEI area, are invited to come to our town hall meeting that we're having at 215 North King Street at 6 p.m. It's to talk about HART construction, which is already underway in the IWILEI area. The first station column for the third segment of rail is coming up right there, and it's really to talk with folks in that community about what to expect, what to look forward to, kind of the timelines and plans and what it's going to look like for that area. I'm very excited. We had the unveiling, I suppose, of the first column at Bethel and Nimitz yesterday, and this column is going to be the new column that's going to be in IWILEI is going to be the first artistic column because it's in a station area. It's going to be really cool, and I can't wait to see it.
Thank you very much for that announcement. Council members, I do want to note that beyond my district, they're very excited for going closer to IWILEI. I work out by the Ho'ai'ai station, so I just right next to it by the fire station. And I just have to say, people in Waipahu are so excited to go from Ho'ai'ai and hopefully go to KÖWILI station to then go to get closer to Chinatown even. So they're very excited. Not even my district, but they're telling me that. So just want to let you know. Thank you. And if there's nothing else, there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.